Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream on Canada's Technology Triangle.net user group. Tonight we have Roy Kim joining us again. He's here to talk to us about an intro to Azure AI Foundry. And this talk is part of the Season of AI Best of Ignite 2024. Before I give the floor to Roy, I'll be monitoring the chat for any comments, so please ask lots of questions, and we'll share those with Roy near the end. Okay, so with that, Roy, the floor is all yours.
All right, cool. Let me share my screen here. Uh, okay. All right, you guys can see that? Okay, you guys, you can see that, Cal? Okay, cool. I'll go ahead. So, hey everyone, yeah, thanks for joining here. So, so basically, I wanted to go over Azure AI Foundry and do like a code demo of a retrieval augmented generation application. So basically, a chatting on documents. And the reason why this is called the Season of AI Best of Ignite 2024 is that Azure AI Foundry was announced on the Ignite 2024 conference back in November. So a little bit about myself. I am a Microsoft MVP for the last several years, focusing on Azure technologies. And of course, AI is still a hot topic this year and something that I've been digging into and want to share with the technical community at large. So, please check out my socials, my blog, my YouTube channel. Um, uh, this presentation is also, I did a video of it, a form of it, so you can always check it out there. And so if you have any questions or comments, feel free to, in the chat, just ask any questions. I do not mind at all, and I'll be watching on the side here for any questions that comes through. Okay, cool. So the agenda here is just an overview of Azure AI Foundry, a little bit about Azure AI Search, right, and the RAG process, so retrieval augmented generation. Okay, and then a code demo of a, basically a scenario of chatting on your documents. Okay, and then we can end off in a Q&A. So what is this Azure AI Foundry? Okay, so my experience is always kind of start off with OpenAI's Azure OpenAI, okay, and to get at the GPT, 3.5, 4 models, and then it kind of turned into, then there was Azure AI Studio, right? So as more and more capabilities have been introduced and there's more kind of requirements, the whole development life cycle, etc. Content safety, testing, evaluation, fine tuning. So then, now Microsoft has come up with Azure AI Foundry. So it's a full development platform, okay, to help build generative AI applications at enterprise scale or enterprise grade. And it helps also facilitate the kind of the prototyping, experimentation, evaluation kind of process, right? And also the platform is there so that you can collaborate with with a full team, okay? Which I will go through in a moment here. So back to the Ignite conference in 2024. Azure AI Foundry was introduced along with the SDK. So I'll be talking about the SDK on how we can turn our existing apps or build new applications to work against the APIs of Azure AI services. Okay, so of course there's the Azure OpenAI service. How do you have your code work against the Azure AI Search? AI agent service, content safety. There's also document intelligence, text to speech, speech services, etc., right? So there's a lot of AI services, okay, but Azure AI Foundry is your kind of go-to development platform to piece together all these things so that you can have your applications work against them. Okay, so we can use build various tooling, development tools, GitHub, VS Code, Visual Studio, Copilot Studio, etc., to work against your these Azure AI services through Azure AI Foundry. Now, here's a diagram that I kind of sketched out. Okay, but you know what? Let me turn to what does it look like in the portal. Okay, so let's just do a little tour of AI Foundry. So let's see here. Let's start from the top. So right here in AI Foundry, we have something called hubs and projects. Okay, and so to start off, you need to create a project. Okay, and within a project, what kind of the parent to a project is a hub. Okay, but when you create a project, it kind of creates a hub along with it. Okay, so hub is the top level container. Okay, and there we can introduce a set of users. Okay, so I have just one hub and there's two projects. Okay, but at the hub level, what we can do is we can have various users. So this is where we can finally have a development platform where we can collaborate. Okay, so there are various roles. Okay, Azure AI Administrator, AI Developer, Contributor, and let's say a reader. Okay, and then we can introduce various models and endpoints. So here I've already created deployed some models here. So GTP4, 4.0 mini, O1, etc. Okay, and here we can have connected resources, right? So here we have connected to Azure Open AI Service. You can connect it to other Azure AI services, okay, that such as document intelligence, etc. Okay, but I have here, let's say I've already connected AI search, okay, uh, into this hub. And then also, of course, we can allocate compute resources, like basically a virtual machine to do kind of batch processing, to do some, computation, okay, of data, and we can start and stop that for jobs. Okay, there is a serverless option, but I have here a compute instance. It's just a VM. Right now, it's stocked here. It's very lightweight. So at the hub level, we can have something that is shareable to our projects, our child projects. Okay, so right here we have AI project hub. Sorry, we have here project number 1 and project number 2. Right, and if we go down to here, we can select also the projects here, and here we see the various connected resources, the models that are inherited from the hub level, and also the projects. Right, so if we want to have just a new user just for at this particular project level, we can add that. If we want a model just for this project level, we can do that, or even a connected resource. So let's see if we could look here. So yeah, it's about the same. Okay, just for demonstration purposes, I have these. Of course, we have dedicated blob storage account to store files, and here I have an AI search. Okay, we click on that. We have the URL, API key, etc. So that's just a little bit of how you can structure it and organize it and to work in a collaborative manner. Okay, so let's So right now we're here at the management center, okay? And now we go to the actual project level, okay? And here is the project. So this is a really important detail. So when you want to work with the SDK, you have your project connection string, okay? And then this is here, we can go into the model catalog. So over the last year or so, there has been tons of models that you can leverage. One really cool thing, as some of you know, is DeepSeek. Was introduced pretty quickly, right? So this is an open source model. I haven't even got a chance to play around with it, but we can always, deploy that, right? And so that we can work with it. So here you can, review any pricing as well. Wow, so it looks pretty cool. Priced at 0. So, but probably there's other pricing in terms of compute. Okay, so here you have the option to select many models. Okay, you can also compare with various benchmarks. Okay, that's available in terms of quality, cost, latency, right? So these are the ones I've previously selected to compare. So Mistral, so this is GTB 4.0, right? And these are kind of more low cost. These are like S5.3 model. It's more of a small, large language model. Okay, Llama 3, and sorry, that was the latency. In terms of cost, we have our cost graph right here. Okay, so that's where you can get a general idea of benchmarks of how you can um, compare between models. The playground here is just to work with the model directly. Okay, so you can query and just chat against the model right here. Um, you know, creative storytelling, etc. on this GTP4 that I have deployed. Okay, and then there's the O1. So O1 is a pretty fascinating one. That's the reasoning model. Slower because it's going through reasoning, but that one is pretty nifty from when I've been playing around with it. Okay, AI services here you can bring in again speech, language translator, as I mentioned, document intelligence. So this is vision and document, content safety, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So there's more to here. You can bring that on board. This one's really new. I haven't had a chance to really work with this, but of course the agents. And then in terms of code, okay, so we have this code tab here. And basically it is to work with the SDK. So I'm going to be focusing kind of on more. So you don't really code through the UI, but it gives you samples and project samples, let's say with Python, and tutorials to work with them. Right. So for example, if you to see this tutorial right here, which I will be going through, gets you going, right? So then you have to go to your actual code in Visual Studio and just follow like how to get access to the Azure AI Foundry kind of the APIs, right? So again, your connection string, okay, and then you can kind of do your chat completions, set the model that you deployed in Azure AI Foundry, right? And then you have your chat template, your prompt engineering, and then off you go, right? So again, right here is your connection string. For me, it's this one right here that you want to leverage. Okay. Oh, whoops. So, um, so that's what that code is about. So here we have fine tuning. So fine tuning is the process of taking like a base model. All right, so you can take Microsoft's Phi 3. So I've actually tune that through a Kubernetes cluster, and so you can get a very large data set, like ideally 15,000, a CSV file of like 50,000 records, and really it's just a bunch of Q&A questions and answers, right? And then you can fine-tune the model to have those type of prompts. Okay, I mean responses to those question prompts. Okay, prompt flow is just basically a GUI based creating a flow, right? So it's kind of like not so much like a code, but more of a low code option. Okay, but I favor as a developer, I favor the code approach. Okay, tracing is to kind of trace your application, kind of see all the API calls. Evaluation is to evaluate. Okay, well, what kind of the responses you had on your prompts. Okay, if you find that they're relevant. Okay, so so this is part of your kind of testing framework. Okay, so again, models and endpoints, data and indexes. So this is my AI search. Okay, or it could be a file in your blob storage account. So if I have here customer dimension right here, I upload it, and then you can access this to run kind of your AI service against this. Okay, and then web apps, maybe you have something, and then you can deploy it into an Azure web application. But I'm going to focus on more of the code and how do you work with Azure AI Foundry through the SDK. So I'll pause here if there's if there's any comments. Okay, no, not yet. Okay, so back to my slides. So again, just a good review. Azure AI Foundry is a resource, so you need a subscription, a resource group, and you have a hub. Okay, so the main things in a hub that you can manage are your set of users, the models, and its endpoints, any kind of compute, like a virtual machine or serverless compute, and connected resources to various AI servers such as speech, language, vision, translator, document intelligence, and content safety. Okay, but then once you create a project, right, under a hub, right, it'll inherit all these users, models, compute, and connected resources. Okay, but you can obviously have your own connected resource just at the project level. So that's again to have that framework. So I want to get into about how to build, or how does a retrieval augmented generation like chat application work, right? So I'll demo that. So what we have first is we have a chat app. Okay, I have it written in Python, and we have the Azure AI Foundry SDK libraries, right? So that with the connection string, we can work against Azure AI Foundry and directly to an OpenAI model. Okay, so the two models we care about here are text embedding. So that's about vectorizing your queries. Okay, and also GTB4o mini, right? So that's for your text completions. Okay, so so the scenario that I will demo is really we have a vector search database, which we can feed it a product catalog. Okay, so the example that I've used is a retail store of hiking equipment, outdoor equipment. Okay, so like tents, hiking shoes, etc. So we want to have a customer service chat application that can ask questions about, like, okay, well, what's the best intent that I can that you have in your product catalog, right? So it can start off with a prompt like, what is your recommended tent for 4 people? And so to really leverage, a vector database, right, and the AI capabilities, we need to take our prompt and get a vector response, right? So a numerical representation of that query. Okay, so that's where we have to use a text embedding ADA002 model. So that spits out a bunch of numbers, which I'll get into momentarily. And then we go back and at the chat app, we'll take that vectorized numerical response, and then we can go ahead and search into your Azure AI search and vector index. Okay, and there's a bunch of documents already there, and so it'll do some kind of similarity matching. Okay, with the vector approach. Okay. And then it'll return results, okay, and then they'll be ranked as well. And then finally, we can take the prompt again from the end user, and what it will do is it'll basically query against the search results, and that those search results are with that initial prompt. Okay, so basically in that prompt we'll have, let's say, top 5, and that prompt will ask, okay, well, what's give me the best price, or what's the recommendation, and then it'll come up with an intelligent human-like response. Okay, so that's really the gist. So this part right here does not go against the search index. Okay, it is this step right here. Okay, so initially, well, for me at least, I found that not so intuitive, but I just want to outline here that this is the general process. Okay, and we use the GT40 Mini, which to come up with a final human-like response. Okay, so what's the general development process, right, to make this kind of this chat application with retrieval augmented generation, right? So let's see here. So let me zoom in a bit here. So first we start off with the creating the Azure AI Foundry hub and project. We deploy the model. So in this case is the text embeddings and the GTP40 Mini. Okay. And then next we do the create the Azure AI search service, okay, which I'll show in a minute in the portal. And then we got to set up our development environment. So, okay, in my case, I set up VS Code, install CLI, install Python packages, including the Azure SDK libraries. Okay. Next is a Python script, just general configuration and helper functions, just to get it set up. Define the environment variables, so that includes let's say the project connection string. Okay. And also to prepare for the search index in the AI search, we need to take our product's CSV file, and we need to upload it and create that search index, right, in Azure AI Search. And I'll show that in the portal. So next we need to create a product documents search script, right, to query the index. And I will show a kind of a prompt template for intent mapping, right, so that it will really tee up that search query for better performance and getting the intent across. And I will demo kind of like testing that the results and showing the results. And then finally, create that chat script with RAG capabilities, okay, which will make a call out to really this script, okay, to get the document search results, and then with another prompt template to really ground the document search results to come up with your final answer, right? Which in this case would be like, okay, what's the recommendation of a tent that can hold 4 people? So that's the general process here. Now, so here, just another view. I've kind of wrote this diagram here. So in setting up the Azure AI Foundry, what we care about are the project connection string, creating the AI search, having the search index by uploading the documents, uh, having our Azure OpenAI service with the deployments. So again, GTB40 mini, text embeddings, and when you create a project, typically a key vault and a blob storage is created. Those are pretty standard things in a Azure landing zone. I'm not really using them in this case, I don't think. Not the key vault yet, but of course, when you want to establish a real enterprise grade application and put into production, it's for any keys, secrets, passwords, you want to put that into the key vault. So on the development side, we start off with having an environment variable, right? So the connection string, what's the name of my search index, what's the embedding model, the chat model, etc. Okay. And first thing that we need to create, and again, these are going through a tutorial that's on MS Learn that you can leverage, and I just basically follow that tutorial. So your config.py is loading these environment variables, getting the asset paths. So let's say yeah, good point. Let me zoom in. Okay, yeah, thanks for that. So we have here, the asset path. So pointing to your data assets, your prompt templates, right, that we need to use, some just general logging functionality, your tracing to Azure AI Foundry, so to enable that telemetry, okay? And then next is having our script to create the search index. So the create search index is dependent on, we'll look up, well, what are my assets, which is the product CSV. So it has these columns: ID, name, price, category, brand, description. So we want to take this information, this data, and put it into our search index. So so this is a one-time setup, okay, in creating that index within Azure AI Search. Okay, so next what we have is our get product documents Python script. So this is really, with your a certain query, you want to get the product documents. So that will retrieve the search results from this index. Okay, using your your text embeddings model. Okay, so it'll pass in a vectorized query and then return the results, right, which are a set of documents that closely match that and are ranked. And then the chat with products. So this is the kind of end user facing script that it'll get its query, the human query. Make a call out to your get products document, and it'll get the document search results. And again, it will make a HTTP call out to Azure OpenAI and kind of formulate a intelligent response, matching the best document search result. Okay, that came out from here. Okay. So without further ado, let's get into the actual kind of code demo, and you can kind of see that end to end. So let me turn to Visual Studio Code. So let's see here. So hopefully you guys can see that. So again, we have here, let's see here, the product CSV. Okay, So we have the ID column, name, the price, the brand, description. Okay, and then in it here has descriptions for like Trailmaster X for tent. Talks about warranty, how many occupants that you can have in the tent, all sorts of descriptive text. So we want to have an application where a customer can ask, hey, what's the most economical pair of hiking shoes? I want a tent for my 4-member family. What do you recommend, etc. Right? So that is the scenario. Okay, and again, we have to upload this into our AI search. Okay, so let me turn into the Azure AI search. So, so we have our indexes. So this was created prior, okay? And so before I do that, let me turn to my script here. So I have here kind of script runner sh, okay? And right here is creating that search index. So I say, okay, what's the index name, and then what's the CSV file, right? So assets product, which is pointing to this one, right? So if I run this, I think it will delete the existing index and kind of recreate that. So found existing index and deleted it, but then it's recreating. So uploaded 20 documents, okay? So 20 documents is all these 20, ID 1, 2, 20. Okay, awesome. So let me refresh this. Oh, okay, you know what? I think it may take some time to do that. Let me run that again here. Okay. Interesting. Okay, well, I think it needs some time, but let's revisit that right later. Um, so the one thing to understand is that in part of my Python script to create the index, I had to define what were the fields. Okay, so the content field, the file path, what will be the title of that document, the URL. In this case, there's no real web URL, but these are really standard fields, and of course the content vector, right? And that content vector is that array of numerical numbers. So it's a huge string of numbers that represent the text content. Okay, so in order to figure out the value of this, basically Azure AI Search will go against the text embeddings model, take that string of text for each document, run it through the text embeddings model to get the vectorized content. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, so great. Now it's been populated. Okay. And just to demonstrate what that looks like. So if I go to fields, I click here retrievable so that we can see the results. So if we go search explorer, so you can search for all. Okay, so what we have here are the results. So let me expand it so it's much bigger. Okay, whoops. All right, okay, I think it's pretty small. Okay, let's do it this way. So here, just a blanket search, and we can see the content, right, of that field. But then here is the the vector representation, right? So it's huge, okay, and that's expected, right? And then the rest of the results kind of got truncated, right? So basically, when we do a query, and that query is made into a vector, and so it's going to compare between that search vector, right, which will have a string of numbers like this, an array, against this, and then it'll kind of do some kind of there's some algorithm that will compare and find like similarity, right? So semantic similarity. So let me save that and move that. So let me search again. And so here we can see I believe this should be all 20 results, and they have a certain like scoring, but yeah, of course they're all one because it was blank. So if I said tense, right? So here you get like a different search score for that. And then here there's a mention of tent right here. It has some highlighting, right, etc. So basically when you query for that, it will return these results, okay? One thing to note is that you can define the algorithm, right? So it's HNSW, right? So it is a hierarchical navigable small world. And really, here's some images, right? So I really don't know much about this, but if just to give you some sense of kind of visual of how this may work, is that based on a query, okay, where that query is vectorized, and it will find the nearest neighbor, right? So maybe these are all kind of documents, and where their content has that vector field, and it'll just try to find that nearest neighbor, okay, and and it's all about finding similarity with semantics in mind, okay. So that's just a little bit about HNSW, okay. Um, so let's see here. Okay, so back to this. Okay, so script runner. So we have that. So that's a one-time activity that creates it, right? So now the search index is set up. Let's query that. Okay. So what is the cost of hiking shoes? Okay. So right here I run it. So as you can see, that took some time, right? It's really working. And here I kind of adjust the code to return the search vector embedding, right? So that's really the query. So this query, right, it calls out to that Azure OpenAI service, right, to get the text with leveraging the text embeddings model to return this search vector embedding. Okay. So again, it's a numerical representation of my query, okay? And then it's gonna take that and search against the vector database, right? And compare against the content vector. So in this case, it returned 5 documents, and so I know it's pretty dense here, but yeah, it returned like the contents with that. Okay, so with this information, there's 5 documents that were retrieved, and we're going to bring it back to the chat application, okay, and then we're going to make a prompt that includes this information, saying, okay, well, which is the best tent for me, right? Or what's the cheapest hiking shoes, right? Or the more cost-effectively hiking shoes, okay? So I can run this one right here. I need a new tent for 4 people. What would you recommend? And so it goes through the same process. Okay. And as you can see here, it returns, that search vector embedding. Okay, and then passes it into the vector search and returns that. Okay. So just to give you a quick rundown of the get product document that we just wrote, right? So, um, so to work with the Azure AI Foundry SDK, you would need to have, these Python packages right here. Okay, this one for authentication. So I believe it's running through my own Azure Entra ID. You can use your login account. I'm not using a service principal or anything like that, but that's better practice. There's the AI search kind of SDK, and here's one for prompt templates, right? So this is where in the search query we have intent mapping. Okay, so just a quick rundown on this. So it's this whole prompt template is kind of like a little software tool called Prompty. Okay, it's a Visual Studio extension. You can look it up. And so here we have a chat prompt. It defines which model we care about, and I guess the type of conversation, some system instructions, some examples of the type of kind of prompt and response, right? So to help ground with it. And then here is the template right here. Return the search query for the following conversation. This is hard coded as a user role and the query for that, right? So and let's see here. So yeah, so that is leveraged in the get product documentation. So um, here we have that connection string through the environment variable. We get connected. We want the embeddings client, okay, and the search connection to Azure AI Search. That client is set up, and get product documents. It leverages again that prompt template, and then goes off and um, you know makes that query to your search database and returns the search results, right? So documents and returning it in this format, right? So these fields, etc. So that's the part where you want to go against the AI search. Now, let's see here. For script runner, so this is the final like end user chat applications that you want to chat against the product. So, okay, let's use this one here, right? I need trail walker hiking shoe. Or actually, sorry, let's use this one. This one I'm more familiar with. So, chat with products, apply query. I need a new tent for 4 people. What would you recommend? So I run through that. And again, this makes a call to that get products Python script. Okay, awesome. So there's that search embedding, system message, and so the system message, and that is, and then my query. Okay, so in this case, I know it's hard to see here. Sky view. Yeah, okay. So at the final result this is the response, right? So I recommend the Trailmaster X4 tent for outdoor living. And then so let's cross check that with the product CSV, how that looks like. So we see here the Trailmaster X4. Okay. It mentions that there's 4 occupants. Okay, but our query said, recommend a tent for 4 people. Okay. And it has more details there, just describing it. So yeah, that's the only mention there, right? So if we're to look for 4 people, okay, nothing comes out. Occupants, let's see here. Let's see here. Let's see. Think other. Let's look. Let's see if there's any other tents in here in this product database. So welcome. Okay, so let's look at this one here, right? So the Explorer tent, this robust 8-person, 3-person. So yeah, so that's correct. It's not gonna match against this one right here, right? And then there's the outdoor living Skyview, which is a 2-person tent, right? So it is correct that it didn't really return that result at the final result. So again, here I'm just showing kind of what the data that we're working against. Okay, so, whoops. So in the end, okay, I know it's maybe hard to see here. So in the end, the final response was, I recommend the Trailmaster X4 tent for outdoor living. It is designed to comfortably accommodate 4 occupants. Spacious interior. The tent features water-resistant construction to keep you dry, multiple doors for easy access, uh, mesh panels for ventilation, and etc. So again, it would be a great choice for camping needs, right? So remember that it asked for recommendation, right? And the response came out, right, responding to um, the intent of having a recommendation. So it ends up saying, I recommend, and saying that this is a great choice. Okay, so really it feels very natural to have that response based on your initial question right here. So that is an example of how that works. Let's see here. Any questions? So, so, um, so in final, let's see here. Whoops. So let me zoom in here. So again, now revisiting this, like again, we have our Python libraries that are able to connect to this, so that you don't have to connect to each individual service, separately. Even though you can, right, to Azure AI Search, the models, etc., right? So it gives you kind of one-stop shop to have, more of a clean, streamlined, access and programmability. Okay, cool. Let's see here. So let's see here. I had this one slide here, and again, it's just to mention. I just want to maybe go over all the vector search, right? So, if you're to search on, let's say, apple and banana, they would be, in a vector space, okay, which can have, like, again, 300 dimensions, okay, when we saw that large string of numbers. So when you have terms or content, say that your question includes banana and the content has apple, it could be in close proximity, right? But then you have companies like Google and the company Apple, right? And based on the words in that prompt or in the string of text, it's able to kind of again with the AI technology to find closeness or proximity and similarity, right? Same thing if you had to have animals like cat and dog, chicken, wolf. Um, Again, it knows how to find good semantic similarity. Same thing as man and woman, queen and king, husband and wife, right? Those things would kind of be close in the vector space, and the vector, let's say the direction, right, of it, let's say man and woman, king and queen, the vectors would point me perhaps in the same direction, or the vector length is similar. So is these type of things that are in play, okay? It's just to give you some sense, okay? But yeah, it's pretty fascinating, I'll have to say. So in closing off, um, for those that attended, I really, really appreciate that, because I was involved in this. I'm speaking in the season of AI kind of series, right? That other presenters are doing around this first quarter. I would appreciate you guys, filling out this attendee survey, right? So it's just, again, helps show my participation in this season of AI 3. Okay. So, okay, I'm looking at the comments. Great presentation. Please remember to update the product database quite frequently. Would it need to delete the existing index and recreate it? So this is from profile. Um, I haven't really came across that scenario yet, um, about, let's say, the staleness of it. But I think it's safe to assume, right? Maybe in some cases that vector database will update um, on it of itself. But if there's some drastic, schema changes or anything, um, you may need to, so be prepared. But just be watchful of various release notes of that AI search vector database. And so that's what I recommend. Hopefully that's helpful. Um, Next question from profile: what would be the implications on the pricing and any outages, considering time it may need to recreate for, let's say, 1,000 records? So what will be the implications on the pricing? So Azure Search is pretty pricey, I would say. Like, just the standard, I think the S1 SKU or tier, it's like a few $100s, just kind of like the base, right? And maybe depending on how much data there is, and how much queries and consumption, it can go up from there, right? But outages yet, again, I'm also pretty novice as well. This being fairly relatively new technology. If there's any outages, would there be any like rebates or anything? There could be. You got to have to check the Azure Microsoft SLAs, um, and if in a case of an outage, would you need to create, may need to recreate. So yeah, always be prepared to recreate. Like, that's why you should always script out or have infrastructure as code, such as Terraform, on your Azure resources. Have your data, your raw data, all put them all in a GitHub repo, automated in CI/CD pipelines, like GitHub Actions, so that in an outage, be prepared to rebuild, right? And usually it won't take too long. Once you trigger recreation, it can take a matter of like, let's say 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. Next question, will it benefit to cache the vectorized query to save on time in API calls? So yes, it would be, right? Because each time you do a query, and then you got to go against the text embeddings model, that's, there's costs to that, right? With the tokens, etc. Right? So you definitely need to take that into consideration. I've heard of some caching strategies. So if you're to use let's say LangChain, right, or semantic kernel, they're, I don't know what you call it. They're like frameworks, right, for these AI applications. And I think there's like certain modules or components or plugins to have some form of caching, right? So I would look into that. So semantic kernel and LangChain. So yeah, I really appreciate those questions. I love the involvement here. Is there any more questions from attendees?
No, I haven't seen anything else, Roy. This has been great.
Yeah. You're welcome, Prapul. Yeah, ask if you like. Reach out anytime if you want. We can get on a call. I'm really all for that. I'm really here for you guys. So thank you. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Callan.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Roy. This has been a great topic tonight. Roy is actually going to be speaking again later this month. Roy, do you want to give any kind of intro on just that?
Oh yeah, that's right. So later, I think the last week of this month, again, I love to share with you guys. I did some fine tuning of, let's say, a data set on a Microsoft i3 large language model on a Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so some fascinating insights and learnings from there. I love to share that. So if you can, guys, come out to that, that'd be great. Yeah, just watch out for the invite.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Okay, cool.
So please go there, register, and we'll see you again Tuesday, February 25th.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you have any questions, just reach out to Roy, and you'll be happy to answer them.
Okay.
That's it. I think we're good. So thank you again, Roy, for speaking tonight. We really appreciate it. A lot of insightful knowledge that you have to share with the community.
Thanks. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Take care. Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.